Yo, 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 what's going on? It's Terrell, Hall of Fame, D-Line, TBkC, and all that other sweet, beautiful, wonderful Check it out. This video, you know what we're gonna talk about, and y'all excuse me for stuttering. I'm trying to speak up and all that good stuff. But a lot of people are confused as to the conversations with genotype and with phenotype. And one of the things is that you hear a lot of people say or you also hear people not fully understand the tie-in between how these things work. And I talk about it a lot deeper in the mentorship program. But the thing of it is this, and I'll give you a couple examples of what you know, some people might be like, oh my God, they're gonna get offended, but fuck them. But one example is Rocco Mania, you know. If you look at the dog himself, this dog is a very big dog, you know, very big, very robust dog, you know, not the greatest of structure, but he's a sizable dog. He's very impressive when you see him as far as his size go. Structure, not as much. But anyway, you know, some people have had the discussion, you know, and they wonder why, you know, generally he doesn't throw himself. Well, the thing is if you look back at Rocco's pedigree, the one thing about Rocco's pedigree is he's an anomaly. The breeding that was done was meant to make a smaller dog. You know what I mean? His grandmother is literally an exotic, a tiny dog that her chest scrapes the ground. So when you see, you know, a pedigree to set up in this nature that it's meant, you know what I mean? This thing is very much so meant to be a small dog, and it comes out a big dog. You already know what's going on there is that this dog just went outside of everything that was supposed to be what it was supposed to be. Now, with that being said, his size does not override his genetics. You know what I mean? And what will happen is that a lot of people, in believing that they fall in love with a dog's, you know, sheer size and his look, and they're like, oh man, you know, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make another version of him with this. And they try to breed towards his size, but they don't understand that it's his genetics that are the pullback. You know what I mean? And what will happen is he'll produce a lot of what his pedigree says, which is smaller dogs, because that's the way he's really wired. Now, sometimes you'll hit and you'll get a bigger dog, but the truth of the matter is he's going to produce a lot of small dogs because he's wired that way. That's where the genotype comes in. The phenotype is his look. You know, now I'll give you another example is Bistro, you know, grand champion, the legendary Bistro. Everybody looks at Bistro, and Bistro was, you know, an under 15-inch dog. Very thick, you know, and a nice dog. But the one thing about Bistro is that if you were breeding to try to recreate a Bistro, you had two issues that were coming into play. First and foremost, Bistro himself is a dwarf. It's no way to get around it. You know, his father, lock and load, big dog, homie, big dog. They come from a line of big ass dogs. So when you see Bistro with the slight underbite, slight easty-westy, and I keep in mind, I'm not throwing shade, I'm being very honest. I love Bistro, use Bistro. He you know, very nice dog. But these were issues that showed up. These were issues that were starting to be the tipping point that you would know that this, you know what I mean, characteristics of the dwarfism. Now, of course, with dwarfism, is levels to this shit. It's many different levels. So at the end of the day, you know, if you try to breed to the short side of this, you have to have it in your mindset that in his genotype, you know, his father, grandfather, these are 100-pound, massive, wide chest, big dogs. You know, your goal is to get smaller. How are you going to go about that? And you have to have that one red flag with the understanding that Bistro himself carries dwarfism traits. So, you know, the obvious genius perspective would say, well, I'm going to take him to a small female and this, that, and the other. Well, you have to break down her pedigree also to make sure that her genotype is not saying bigger dogs and she just happened to come out smaller. And, you know, and also, you know, go over her with a fine tooth comb to see if she exhibits any of the traits of dwarfism, because this is obviously how they got to the smaller size with these dogs. You know what I mean? The reverse of that would be gigantism. But the way that they got down to the smaller size of these dogs, this is a characteristic that they're showing. It might not be prevalent, but if you put two dogs together who have shown dwarfism characteristics very mildly, you've compounded the dwarfism gene. And by compounding that dwarfism gene, you could come up with a litter that has a multitude of issues, you know what I mean, that goes to the dwarfism traits. That's where your genotype comes in. So you're overriding, all of this stuff has to line up. If you want small, and now if you're gonna battle the genes that say that these dogs are supposed to be big, but your battle is based off of the dwarfism traits that made them small, you're aligning yourself with dwarfism and everything that comes with it. You know, and I know y'all saying, what's the trick? Well, some dogs don't exhibit the dwarfism traits even though they're shorter. Some dogs have a several generations of genotype that shows that they got smaller. Shut up. That shows that they got smaller and smaller and smaller as it went along. These are probably more stable genetic dogs to help you come down to where you want to be, because you know that the genetics themselves say that these dogs should be shorter dogs and might not exhibit as much of the dwarfism traits to help you override whatever you're facing with a dog like Bistro. You know, you have to go down that way, and that's your better gamble as to making the dog short. Now, on the flip side of that, you know, a lot of times if you take a dog with those genetics and you breed him to a more, like, say, standard bitch or a bitch that has those genetic markings to produce a bigger dog. Now, at this point in time, what you're going to find out is that your pockets will start throwing standards again, which is behind their pedigree. Bistro very easily can throw lock and load. He can easily throw a dog like Homie if put on the proper platform, and these are the genetics that we're compounding. These things have to be broken down. The American Bully has not made it to the point of, say, a Rottweiler, which of course I know y'all be like, he always talk about them damn Rotties, but I got more knowledge about Rotties than some of the other dogs. But the way that we get to a black dog with the mahogany markings and, you know what I'm saying, a limit on height that they do very well in the show ring at least. And, you know, this dog, they can make them all look like clones of themselves is because of this process. They have eliminated colors that weren't supposed to be there. They have eliminated dogs that were too big. They've eliminated dogs that were too small. They followed the genotype pattern to make a consistent dog that almost, when you get a Rottweiler, it's like breeding for dummies if you've gotten with the right people, because the dogs are so well programmed to come out with the look that they're supposed to have. It can almost make anybody look like a great breeder. At that point in time, all you have to do is know the family lines and how they click together to make sure they're going to stay consistent or you don't have any issues. As American Bully breeders, we are aiming to get to that point, but we are so far behind because in ourselves, we're trying to develop a look. And the, excuse me, and the sad part about it is we've got too many classes. So inside these classes, we're trying to define something. I mean, inside the breed, we're trying to define each class, and inside of each class, we're trying to define each look and each path that we got to those looks and which look is acceptable. And it's very, very complicated right now. But to make it simple, the very first thing that you need to do inside your yard is identify what you want. Once you identify what you want, then you start breaking down the genes. Look more towards the genes than you do the dog. The dog is a good representation. You don't want to breed a dog that's screwed up, of course. But also remember that everything that you see, you know, visually is backed up by programming of what it, you know, what it said, what it said that this dog should do. You know, a pocket will throw a giant dog. This is a fact. If that pedigree says that everything behind him was a giant dog and this bitch just happens to have a few dogs that were big dogs in there, I guarantee you thinking you going for pocket, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to have all kind of big-ass dogs because the genetics said that. So you know what I'm telling y'all, man, is study from both ends. You know what I mean? Even when we flip flopped it a little bit, but even if you trying to make a more bigger, robust dog, make sure that that's in his pedigree. Or if you're gonna have to go that route, you're gonna have to load up on if that's the stud you plan on using, you're gonna have to load up on the female side to make sure that she's carrying that. And you know the thing that makes great breeders great is that they understand how to load up on certain characteristics while cleaning up and tweaking out anything that would affect that, and not accepting those things. It's a process, y'all. It's a process, but first of all, understanding the blood, understanding the dog, and not just falling in love with the way he looks is going to put you in a position to get to the direction that you should have already established before you even thought about breeding. Definitely got to know where you're going to put a plan together. But I know this was a lot of going on in this one video, but hopefully it helps some of y'all, through the process of breaking your dogs down. And we'll go into it deeper and deeper, man. But until next time, man, God bless all y'all. Much love. Peace.